All right, it's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And Olamide as well as Nelson are standing by to bring us up to speed with what the papers are saying this morning. Good morning. What's on the papers this morning, Olamide and Nelson?
Right. Good morning, Veronica.
Good morning, Veronica. Good morning, Ibrahim. As always, we're here to, bring you up to speed with major stories on the front page of the newspapers. I have Nelson here with me. Good morning, Ibrahim.
Good morning, Olamide. Good morning, Nelson. You're looking
Ibrahim,
so good.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you too,
Thank you very much. We have big stories today, but top on that list, of course, is, the inauguration of Donald Trump as president. And as against what we've seen as tradition, this one is expected to host world leaders. And there are speculations as to, what we should expect as a Trump administration begins. But we have more pressing issues here in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Sad stories. And let's take a look at what this Nigeria has to say this morning. Right, on this Nigeria, it starts with the Niger tanker explosion. 80 buried in mass grave, 55 in critical condition as death toll rises to 86. Tinubu, the Christian Association of Nigeria Senators, MON, described the tragedy as unfortunate. I know we have
it's absolutely unfortunate,
other issues to discuss
really
this morning, but
I mean,
this should be top on our list.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate that this happened. And, the president, as well as the first lady and the former president, Buhari, and a few other, leaders have spoken on how we can most times avert such, cases. We have about 80 persons who's been buried already and most other ones in the hospital. Thankfully, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, the Minister of Information, and the Commissioner for Health for Niger State have all visited the hospital, and the president has given a marching order that all persons in the hospital be given comprehensive treatment.
So I also believe we should be looking at the humanitarian side of this, of course, which, the president has been at the fore of. But we also need to address this issue from the root as to why, persons decide to go near something as dangerous as that.
Yeah.
When we saw the minister who visited them in the hospital, it said we've had, over 200 cases of deaths in the past few months.
Caused by, fuel tanker explosion.
This shows that there is a problem.
Absolutely.
Is it a problem of enlightenment? Is it a problem that people are not aware of the dangers of this? Or is it a problem of greed or poverty? What exactly is the problem?
I think it's a mixed mash of all of that.
Right.
There's poverty there, there's ignorance and hunger, as it were, in that sense. So people go close to this, very dangerous item to try to siphon fuel from them. Sometimes we see that, especially in the riverine areas. This is dangerous. We must stop doing that for your life's sake.
This is a very, sad situation. Yeah. And even that we have on the Salient Times, which is also reporting that, 86 bodies have been recovered and buried after the Niger tanker explosion.
This is really
can
sad.
have, if you have a picture of what the bodies will look like, it will look like after this. The Tinubu is also, mourning the victims and to set up a committee to tackle tanker explosion. Let's quickly go to another story there. It says gunmen invade Celestial Church in Ogun, kill pastor. This is another sad story here. It was reported that the 3 gunmen actually, attacked the pastor while he was preaching during a church service. I can't imagine, the psychological or mental effect that this will have, apart from, or what will they have on the family themselves, but even the members of the church who had to, experience that. But coming from a security perspective, I think this seems like an issue of revenge.
If the church is no longer safe, for whether the church or the mosque or any other sacred place of worship is no longer safe for people to go in and worship their God, I don't know, Olamide, where else can be safe. And so this is an absolute no. Even if there was an issue, you can't do that within the 4 walls of a sacred place like the church. That is absolutely unacceptable. There's something else still there on the Salient Times on Desiani. denies ownership of repatriated $52.8 million loot, reveals owner's name. Olamide, what's that? She's revealing somebody's name who owns that money? Okay.
That's another story on the Salient Times, I guess. But let's quickly go to the blueprint. We have a lot of papers to take a look at this morning.
Absolutely.
And I will want to say that some of these stories are not, really palatable to see. Which, of course, top on that list is the Niger tanker, explosion. But let's hear what you have on the Blueprint newspaper.
On the top right banner of the blueprints there, 800 billion naira allocation not enough to address road infrastructure. This is according to the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, saying 800 billion allocation is not enough for his ministry. Again, remember, different ministries and agencies are before the NAS, presenting their budget. And so he's saying, man, y'all can give me 800 billion. But, the minister is on the knocks for quite a number of road construction here in Lagos and across different places. And so
of course,
800 billion, that's
to say it boldly, uncompleted projects. But of course, he is the minister and he understands how it is.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, he's an engineer, so he knows better.
So he says 800 billion allocation, not enough to address road infrastructure. Perhaps he should also, come forward and give us an account of how well, what he has had in his, custody.
Especially the Lagos-Calabar, highway. We need to know what's going on there, Minister.
Right. Let's go to Daily Independent newspaper. Still on rising insecurity in Nigeria. We've seen this story in Niger, seen the story also in Ogun State. Reps are more target for the IGP. That's on Daily Independent. Service chiefs to check poor performance, want appraisal to form basis of reappointment and disengagement. Interesting story. They're targeting the Inspector General and the service chiefs to check out their performance. But when you hear, analysts, security analysts, they will say that, to an extent, that we've seen a level of improvement in our security situation.
Oh, absolutely.
And perhaps now this is something that should be addressed from the roots and our own, perception as, Nigerians also.
We need to give the president kudos for that, as well as the service chiefs for the change in the tactics and the wins we've been having in security across the country. However, we are not there yet. There's still a lot. If people are killed in church and several other kidnaps taking place in different parts of the country, it therefore means that there's still a lot to be done. However, we have a lot of, things to be grateful for. Olamide, they're still on Daily Independent there. Again, on power, vandals destroy 18 transmission towers in 5 days. The TCN is, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, is lamenting this. This is really sad.
Right, this was one of the complaints
this is just
that
in
was
January
made
2025.
this was one of the complaints that was made by the Minister of Power, that vandalism is another big issue, is another issue that is affecting, the power sector in Nigeria. And so it means that there are persons whose job or who earn from sabotaging the power sector and decide to put the nation in darkness. Well, this is a security issue as well, and perhaps we should be looking forward to, nabbing this person and making an example of them, because they cannot hold the whole nation.
Absolutely not into ransom. According to the report, this is taking place, or this took place in Rivers, in Kano, and I think Akwa Ibom.
And that's just January alone.
Just January. Just January. This is really bad. I don't know why we would take the joy in putting the nation in darkness. Well, that's not something to be proud for.
Well, that's the human nature for you. Some persons earn their living from, causing chaos and all of that. But very quickly, because of our time, let's quickly go to Nigerian News Direct, another sad story. They're not mere Yahoo boys. EFCC raises alarm over arms proliferation as mixed reactions trail officer's death in Anambra. Now, we've seen the spokesperson of the EFCC come out to say that, this late officer was discharging a legitimate duty. Absolutely. As against what is going around, that perhaps they decided to break in or jump in through the fence. The spokesperson has said that is a wrong information. And what is more worrisome is the fact that some, will I say, faceless commentators are pitching, their tent with an alleged, so to speak, an alleged criminal who unleash terror on the EFCC in their line of duty. However, we also, need to, go back to the board and, understand ourselves better, our way of operation as security agencies.
Yeah.
They also need to know that there is obviously no justification whatsoever to rationalize a numerous act. But this brings a bigger issue.
But it's, yeah.
Arms proliferation in Nigeria. How does a Nigerian have access? Some say
to guns.
It's a licensed
illegal
gun.
guns.
And of course, when you look at, the Firearm Act, it provides that no person shall have any possession of these weapons.
Obviously.
Except such person has a license from the president or the inspector general.
And you have to be one who is
that
authorized
is
as
one
a security operative to hold. Now, but the issue of not being mere Yahoo boys, for me, that's a concern there. That's a double crime into one pack.
Right.
That's the person is Yahoo already, and then you're saying that they're carrying guns. So let's not just look at them as being Yahoo alone. You shouldn't even be Yahoo in the first place, let alone carry guns. I mean, come on. Yeah,
let's leave that story. I'm sure we may still have something about that tomorrow. But let's go to, that will be the Platform Times. And it's talking about, this budget padding scandal. 105.8 billion naira. You know the kind of figures that we are hearing today. 3 institutions implicated, 182 fraudulent projects uncovered.
And then we would say that there is no money in this country. That's why Nigerians most of the times don't believe in some of these economic calculations that comes from the government sometimes, because if a ministry or if about 182 fraudulent projects been discovered from 3 different institutions, that cannot be the case. How then do we expect other ministries to be adequately funded? For instance, education, which we're still talking about, EU funded in that
bringing
sector.
ourselves to, question ourselves, bringing ourselves to account, ensuring that, whatever we spend is being accounted for. That's another big issue. Ensuring that we, give account of what is being spent.
Talking about accounting,
very quickly because of our time. We'll take that later.
Okay.
Let's quickly go to the Daily Times. And, the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, has departed Abuja for Davos for the 2025 World Economic Forum.
Fantastic.
And so, this also brings me back to what we were saying about the fact that while we're trying to, engage with investors, trying to, pitch Nigeria to major countries across the world, we should also try our best to also manage what we have, cut down cost and all of that, economize at this point, so that it brings us for me
the Vice President is a fine gentleman, and so he would do Nigeria great service representing us at the World Economic Forum. He knows what is at stake and will do a fantastic presentation of the country to the World Economic Forum and come back home with quite a number of investment that we need in this country.
Right. Let's quickly go to the Hope newspaper. Do you have the Hope newspaper there?
Yes, I do.
Right.
APC sweeps Ondo local government polls, wins in another 18-0 scenario. This sounds like football.
I'm not going to say the other party should have to go and, whip and all of that, but this is hands down.
Well, it is what it is.
18-0. As with what we saw on, the governorship election.
This is like Chelsea and Arsenal, right?
This is a call for help by, the PDP for them to, do better, and other parties, of course, that participated in the election.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But let's go to the Nation newspaper very quickly because of our time. 774 councils to open dedicated account with the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's another story towards achieving local government autonomy in Nigeria.
And at the bottom of the Nation there's a quote by the Chief of Defense Staff, again on security. He says, our responsibility demands that we do whatever we can, wherever we can, whenever we can, however we can, and for as long as we can to protect Nigeria. That's a very great motivation coming from the CDS
Right,
himself.
and as they have also been addressed as a third tier of government, of course, those who are corrupt, local government chairmen who, are not doing what, or they are not providing the dividend of democracy to the people, they will be brought to book by the EFCC.
Because right now their money comes directly from the government, and the NFIU will be auditing them.
Right. So let's go to the national economy. 21 million housing deficit. Affordability concerns compounds Nigeria's housing woes. Government private sector promises initiatives failed to bridge huge gaps, simplified access to finance, others as way out.
You know, we had the men in charge of the housing agency here in the country on our show twice, you know, and they talked about the several structures being put in place by the federal government for all Nigerians to access, you know, housing. And so this is one thing that everyone should be proud and happy about, because I want to have, you know, my own house as well.
And, you know, connected to that also is the Punch newspaper, where NLC faults fresh petrol price hike, says the federal government is insensitive. Labor fares hike will fuel food crisis increase in line with rising crude price. Dangote, you know, prices of food, prices of fuel, they're all interconnected, and they also, you know, help to, you know.
Well, it seems like everything is high these days.
Everything is high these days.
But you shouldn't be high, would you?
That statement saying that the federal government is insensitive. Towards the late part of last year, we saw a lot of, you know, negotiations by the federal government with the NLC
and Dangote himself, and just Dangote to make sure that Nigerians can afford fuel.
We get to a form of, you know, consensus on this issue. So
I think the NLC is just doing their job to raise an alarm, as they normally do, just to say, hey, if you all are thinking, don't think it again. That's what I'm thinking they're thinking.
Right. On the Leadership newspaper, Japa syndrome threatening Nigeria's workforce. More citizens seek greener pasture due to hardship. Institutions battle with brain drain. I think top on this list is the health sector. I mean, you go to hospitals and you do not have doctors. Your doctor has traveled out.
Exactly.
To treat
and
about not a good patient.
Different specifications, professionalism in the medical sector, you know, are losing professionals or health experts to other parts of the country. This is something the government will need to look into, make Nigeria work so that all of us can stay back home and, you know, and be proud of what we have.
Well, I think, you know, from what you have seen, especially in the past few months, it shows that this administration is very active, is working to ensure that, I mean, we get to a form of balance as a country.
President Bola Tinubu has said that over and over again, especially again in his New Year address to the nation. He's talked about his commitment to fixing this country. And so sometimes it's not just a through, it's a journey, y'all.
It's a journey. It's on the Nature newspaper. Banks exit climate financing as Trump resumes U.S. presidency. I mean, as with other issues, immigration and all of that, everyone is just, you know, apprehensive. Will I use it? If I could use that word.
I mean, I was wondering.
So many persons are in fear about what's going to happen. It may not really come out as we expect.
But I'm wondering why they have to exit, you know, climate change financing. I mean, is Trump against, you know, climate change? I don't understand that.
I do not believe he's against. If anything, from his past administration, Donald Trump is someone that has, you know, has been at the fore of things that involve technology, financing, cryptocurrency. Even over the weekend, he also launched his own coin. That was the dollar Trump coin, which increased also. Yeah. But finally, on Sporting Life, that's sports. I guess that should be for you.
Yeah, you come to my own turf now. Okay, Djokovic sets up Kara's quarter-final tie. Some good news there for our gentlemen. And look at this, Chelsea versus Wolves. Maresca reiterates plan to manage James as Foden scores twice in huge win. But the big story there, Man United beat 113 billion naira for Osimhen. Man, Olamide, it's like you and I have to change careers into football. So
it is very, very lucrative.
We can for 113 billion naira. That's a whole lot of money.
I mean, like I mentioned, we've been seeing very nice figures today. Perhaps we should be looking into, you know, football. I don't know if it's something you will consider.
But apart from just seeing those nice figures, we should be bidding to take them in our pockets back home. You know, after the newspaper like this, for instance.
Right. I think this is how much we can take. And of course, before we hand over to Veronica, of course, congratulations on your nomination.
Oh, yeah, as a TEF mentor, to the Limenu Foundation mentor. Right. And you yourself, look at you giving me flowers. You are the latest MSc holder in Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
And the best in criminology from the University of Lagos. I present to you.
Well appreciated. Let's quickly hand over to Veronica and Ibrahim. Veronica and Ibrahim, that's all we have on the newspapers this morning.
All right, interesting stories there, but congratulations to you both on the achievements you have achieved. And I was just imagining Nelson on the football field, changing careers.
That would be
congratulations, guy.
That would be a
Another
wonderful disaster.
Congratulations, more wins.
All right,
you.
We need to quickly move on now.